Welcome to the Enduro Hunt Podcast. Join me as I share my experiences as an emergent hunter, offer advice on how to overcome challenges, and pursue your passion for hunting. If this is your first time tuning into the podcast, I am your host, Andrew Lukosovic. I started hunting back in 2018 after getting out of the military on a elk mule deer combination tag out in Montana with my best friend Peter. We saw no elk, saw plenty of mule deer, came home with nothing, but after that trip, I was sort of hooked on hunting, and up until this year, I've gone out west every single year, and I have been obsessed with hunting. I created this podcast to share my story and try and help others who did not grow up with hunting, did not grow up in a hunting family, and share resources, information, lessons, and experiences that I've learned the hard way so that hopefully you don't have to. This is episode 39 of the podcast, Why I Bought a Muzzleloader, specifically the CVA Acura MR-X. That is the model of muzzleloader that I purchased. I want to say right from the beginning that I'm doing this one slightly different. I got a different microphone, and I'm going to try and have this be more of an audio-visual experience. If you are listening on the podcast, that's totally fine. I'm going to be as descriptive as possible. But if you're watching this on Spotify or YouTube, I do have the muzzleloader with me. As I'm talking about certain things, I'm going to try and show some B-roll of what the thing I'm talking about is. If you're only listening, I'm going to do my best to make sure that you don't miss out on anything. But I did want to give you an opportunity in case you wanted to watch to switch to a video platform. Also, if the audio does sound different, I am using a different microphone. The microphone I usually use requires me to sit in the same place. I'm going to be up and moving so that I can make sure that I get things in the shot for the video. So hopefully the audio quality sounds pretty good. It sounded good in the testing. With that out of the way, let's kind of start diving in. So hunting season is around the corner. I'm recording this. I'm recording this September 4th, and the podcast is supposed to come out September 4th. So I need to hustle and get this recorded, edited, and published today. Hunting season here opens September 28th. I am very excited for that. Technically, there was a velvet season for a few days in August. I don't have access to private land here, so we don't have that working for us. The regular bow season starts September 28th. I'm going to do my first scouting trip this weekend. I know it's a little late, but with the house and everything, I just really haven't had time. Taking a buddy out here that's in Tennessee that's never hunted before. We're going to go scouting together. I'm loaning him some gear and giving him some stuff so that he can try and hunt for his first season. So very excited about that. Depending on how it goes and how he feels, maybe I'll have him join a podcast at the end of the year. We'll see. I'm not going to promise that. But now is the time of year where people really get into their hunting prep and they really start getting ready for hunting season. I think although the bow season is coming up, I am actually planning on using this muzzleloader in Tennessee, and I have an invite to use it during the Texas muzzleloader season as well. So hopefully I will be able to take this thing out and put it through its paces this year. In this podcast, I'm going to talk about the mindset that I had, the approach that I had when I was picking my muzzleloader, why I wanted this particular one. And I just want to say that, my experience and the reason I chose this particular muzzleloader, I'm going to do my best to explain thoroughly everything that I like about it, what I don't like, and I'm putting that out there so that you have it as a reference. My hope is that I can explain my thought process, the reasons why I wanted to do it, and the approach that I'm having, and that will help you determine whether or not you need to consider this muzzleloader as well. This is, my perspective, my thoughts on the matter, and I should say this is not a thorough review. So if you stumbled across this on YouTube or a different platform and you are looking for an in-depth review of the CVA Acura MR-X, this is not it. This is going to be sort of high-level discussion about features, the things that I'm intending on doing, and why. It is not an in-depth review of the specifications of the particular muzzleloader. I haven't shot it yet, and I haven't used it in the field yet. So if that's what you're looking for, sorry, this is not it. But going back to wanting one, I've wanted one for a long time, ever since I started diving into the Western hunting game. And I say it that way because when I went on my first hunt, I had no clue what I was doing. In reality, the first 3 hunts, I didn't really understand what I was doing. It wasn't until maybe 2021, 2022, definitely by 2022, so we'll say 2021, that I started to understand what the draw odds looked like, what the cycle looked like. And I am also just a naturally curious person. I like to try things. The idea of a muzzleloader, it's a more primitive weapon. It is not a traditional muzzleloader. It's an inline muzzleloader. I like messing with stuff like that. It tickles a part of my brain. So the idea of having better draw odds potentially because less people use muzzleloaders, less people are applying for those tags. There's still competition, but there are less people. The idea of having to work a little bit harder is something that I also like. I like trying to do things that I think are difficult, different, and that maybe other people aren't going to do. And it's not. And when I started seeing what could be done with a muzzleloader, I went down the rabbit hole, started watching YouTube videos of people chasing mule deer and elk with a muzzleloader. And then when I think about the moment that I was like, I need a muzzleloader, like I need it, was January 2023 with Taylor Shear. Taylor is my best friend from Texas. We used to be neighbors. I actually had him on the podcast last year back in episode 13 for Texas Drawn Hunts. If you haven't listened to that episode, I'll link it in the show notes. It's a great one. We dove into the sort of nuggets of Texas Drawn Hunts and what can be uncovered there. Even as a non-resident, I still apply to Texas now. But January 2023, Taylor and I went to the Dallas Safari Club. First time I've ever been to any type of convention. And we get there and we're in the hotel the first day and we're just excited, and we ended up on a kick watching muzzleloaders. And I'm not talking about normal muzzleloaders. No. We went down the rabbit hole deep enough where people are taking 500-600 yard shots with a muzzleloader. I'm not going to do that anytime soon. I do that with my centerfire rifle, but not a muzzleloading rifle. But when I think about the moment that in my mind, I was like, this needs to happen. I need to find a way to make this happen. So I'm going to. And I started saving up money. And the reason we wanted it then was, so Texas has a muzzleloader specific season. When the general season ends in January, depending on where you are in the state, you can potentially extend your season by 2 weeks by hunting with a muzzleloader. And it does vary based on regions. So Texas is huge. There are different regions and every county sort of has their own rules and regulations. So it's not true everywhere, but there is a muzzleloader specific season at the end of the year in January. Tennessee has its own muzzleloader season. There are some units that are muzzleloader only. You can't use a rifle whatsoever. And I love the idea of trying to increase my draw odds out west. I mean, less people hunt with muzzleloaders than rifles. Muzzleloaders give you the ability to reach out further, more consistently and accurately, potentially, than a bow. Depending on how comfortable you are and how consistent you shoot with the bow, a muzzleloader can undoubtedly increase your effective range. I mean, realistically, you shouldn't probably be taking a shot greater than 50, 60 yards, depending on how competent you are with a bow, depending on the species too. With a muzzleloader, 50 to potentially 150 or more yards, depending on the configuration, the specific muzzleloader you have, is realistic on taking on game. So all of that got me very excited. And I'm like, I need to figure this out somehow. On top of that, my friends are getting muzzleloaders. Andrew Coltsoon, who's one of my buddies who was on the podcast, he's been on several podcasts now. He got his muzzleloader in 2023, which only cemented the idea. I did my podcast with Kent Boucher from the First Gen Hunter podcast, and his favorite method of take is muzzleloaders. Kent and I are actually going to be recording a podcast tomorrow that will be the next one that comes out, and we're actually going to be diving into pellets versus powder, load weights, and the more technical stuff of building out load development and actually shooting and hunting with a muzzleloader. I texted him after I got mine and asked if he had any tips and pointers, and he said we should just talk and maybe do a podcast. And I said, that's a fantastic idea. So episode 40 of this podcast, I'll be linking that in the show notes. It's going to be a joint podcast. We're going to release an episode on each of our podcasts. And it's going to be our discussion all about muzzleloaders, talking about what happens once you got it. Because if you start doing research, it's very easy to get overwhelmed. There's so many different powders and pellets and grain weights and everything that you have to consider that if you're coming from a traditional background like I am, might be overwhelming. And for me, it definitely was. And I just want to have a decent starting point. I've gotten some tips from Andrew Coltsoon, but I want to talk to Kent and get a diversified opinion. And Kent's been doing it for years. So it's going to be a great conversation. You should definitely check that one out. But talking to them too actually helped me determine what muzzleloader I wanted. Both of them have CVAs. Both of them have CVA Optimas specifically. But between all of the conversations I've had with various different people, it was very clear to me that the brand to go with is CVA. So Andrew recommended the CVA. Kent recommended the CVA. My guide from my Arizona elk hunt also recommended CVA if I wanted to get a muzzleloader. He actually recommended one of the two. He recommended the line that I ended up getting, and I'll explain why that is when I talk about this muzzleloader in more detail. So CVA is the Connecticut Valley Arms Company. They are probably the most prolific and well-known muzzleloader brand, although they actually do other types of rifles as well. There's a lot to like about them, and they offer muzzleloaders for everyone. And I mean everyone. As a brand, they're known for being accurate, reliable, and consistent. They shoot well, quality, well-built products that are durable. Every model is made for hunting in mind. They're easy to use and clean. The break action models, which is most of them, all have their patented quick release breech plug, which is toolless. I'll be showing that later in the podcast on mine. And they have excellent customer service, which is something that I know I care a lot about. I haven't had to call them yet, but talking to Andrew Coltsoon, he has had to call and ask several questions, and people have answered, picked up the phone, and given him good information. They also put a lot of great stuff out on YouTube. So all in all, there's a lot to like about the brand. As far as their muzzleloader lineup, they have technically 5 options. There is the Wolf lineup, the Optima, the Crossfire, the Accura, and the Paramount. And those go up by features and cost as well. So it starts from the cheapest to the most expensive. The Wolf range is their entry level. It has a 24-inch barrel. It is a break action muzzleloader, just like the Optima and the Accura are. And depending on the package, you can find a ready-to-shoot muzzleloader for between $240 and $300. It is a cost-effective, easy way to get in. My buddy Peter got a Wolf this year, and he's going to be using it in the Pennsylvania season, so we'll be able to see exactly how it goes. The Optima is the next one. I would say this is probably, I'm biased. I think this is the most popular one because it's the one that's the most recommended on the internet. And I know more people that have this than any other option they have. But this is like the perfect cost for an entry-level do-it-all muzzleloader, I think. Now, I did not buy the Optima. I'll explain why later. But the Optima comes in with a 26-inch barrel, still break action, and starts at just over $300. I mean, when I was looking in preparation for this podcast, I found their iron sight models for $310. You can find fully kitted out options that have optics and everything for more expensive because you're paying for the optic too. But the Optima has the bigger barrel, all of the same features, and it has a lot of the features that the Accura has, but there are certain things that it's missing in the barrel, the cheek riser, and some other stuff that for me made it worth it to spend the extra money. And there is a big jump. So the Wolf is, $240 to $300. Then you go to $300 to, you can find packages for $3 to $5. The Accura starts higher. But I don't want to skip the Crossfire. The Crossfire is one that I actually was not aware of. I've heard of it before and totally forgot about it until I was researching the CVA lineup in preparation for this. And it uses their fire stick, which is their patented ignition system. Personally, I would recommend staying away from the Crossfire unless you are planning on purchasing it for a very specific purpose. Regulations about muzzleloaders vary so much from state to state. And if you're only planning on using it in the state that you live in, the state that you normally hunt, and it is legal there, then by all means, go for it. But because of the way I plan on using it, there was never a chance I would consider it because it would be illegal in most of the states I want to hunt. So for me, would not recommend it. You can use it. It sounds interesting, but I wouldn't use it for hunting personally. Then we get to the Accura. The Accura is the top of the line when it comes to their break action muzzleloaders. Biggest feature is the Bergara barrels. So they are not in-house barrels. They're using Bergara brand barrels in either a 26-inch or a 30-inch length. And they start at $550. So that is with the MR-X, it starts at $550. The LR-X starts around $650, which is their long range version versus the mountain version, which is what the MR is. The pricing varies significantly. I mean, I'm pretty sure you can find packages that go over $1,000 depending on like if you want a full optics package, but you can get a kitted out version like the one that I've got with iron sights for just under $600. I think I spent $580 or so. And this has just about everything I need minus the bullets and powder for me to get started and the cleaning equipment. Before I dive more into the MR-X, I did want to hit on the final CVA muzzleloader in the lineup, which is the Paramount. The Paramount is a bolt action, long range muzzleloader. They start at just under $2,000. So if you're just getting into the muzzleloader game like me, I doubt you're going to start with the Paramount. Similar to the Crossfire, I'm not sure how the regulations are for that, so I don't know where it is. It is not legal. Definitely want to do some research before you do that. But as I was saving up and researching and trying to figure out how I was going to use it, for me, the MR-X made the most sense. So let me step back. If you're watching video, I'm about to show it on the screen. But this is the configuration that I've got of my MR-X. The MR-X, so this particular model, has it is in the black and stainless steel configuration. They make them with different patterns and nitride coated barrels. I'm going to be honest, I didn't want to spend like $200 to get it a different color and coating on the barrel. I've used stainless steel for a long time. The material feels excellent for the hand grip as well as the stock. I wasn't worried about it, and I didn't think it was for me. I didn't think it was worth the extra cost. Now, this does have the 26-inch barrel, and the LR-X has the 30-inch barrel. Now, I did make an error, and I'm not sure I would have made a different decision if I remembered this. But when I was going to purchase this, I was thinking about my long-range rifle that I use in my regular Western hunts. And that has a 29-inch barrel. And it is long. I brought that on Arizona, and I've brought it on a couple of hunts in that configuration. And, you know, it works great, but it gets in the way of trees and things. So when I was getting ready to build this out, the idea of a 30-inch barrel, I was just like, oh, that's going to be too big. There's no way I'm going to make that work. The issue is, I was accounting for the action of my bolt action. The barrel starts at the breech plug, all the way at the back, right by the hammer. So when I break this open, the whole length is the 26 inches. So this package is actually quite compact, and I probably would have been fine with the 30-inch. That being said, the reason I'm not confident I would have gotten the LR-X, even if I remembered that, is I don't know if it's worth the $150 for the way I'm going to use it. Maybe if you're watching this and you have the LR-X or you're planning on buying the LR-X and it makes a difference, if it really does make a difference, and I'm not sure if it will out to 150 yards, which is about as far as I think I'd ever want to take this. I don't think it was worth it, but I could be wrong. Maybe one day we'll see. But that is what I've got. I've got the MR-X. I am so stoked about it. I love this thing. I can't wait to shoot it and use it in the field. I am focusing on archery season, but I need to make a trip to the gun range soon. So I know I need to get shooting, and then I will probably do an update on like social media or something. I don't know that I'll do a full podcast on how it feels after shooting it. I wanted to talk a bit about why I got the Accura over the Optima, and sort of the mindset and the thought approach that I had going into it. I am relatively conservative with my my gun collection, we can call it. I don't have a lot of guns by comparison to like the gun guys that I know that are buying all sorts of rifles and then they don't shoot them. They just sit and collect dust. And like, maybe I'll be that guy one day, but right now that's not me. I like to have multi-purpose guns or guns for very specific uses that I still shoot but serve a specific purpose. You know, I plan on using this in Tennessee, in Texas. I'm going to apply for states like Arizona and Colorado. And this configuration, the way I have it set up right now, with the iron sights, the break action, the quick release breech plug, I can hunt with this in just about every state the way it is set up, depending on the bullet and powder setup that I want to go with. But in this way, I am not restricted at all. The other thing is, every single gun that I have purchased, every single one, I have wanted to upgrade. I've wanted to change something, or I wish I bought a higher model. So when I was going into this, because all signs pointed to the Optima, $300, done, easy. But I told myself, if you do that, a year from now, 2 years from now, you're going to really wish you had that Bergara barrel. And there are other things that you would probably want. And there's features that the Accura has that the Optima does not. Now, there's still a chance that I will want to replace or upgrade this in the future. But by starting from the get-go, going for the Accura, I think I'm going to delay that inevitable process. I wanted to push it back as far as possible so that I can get as much out of this muzzleloader before I want to upgrade it or find features or things that I do or don't like. I've said a couple of times now that there are features about this muzzleloader that the Optima does not have that sort of set it apart for me that I am very interested in. First and foremost, I'm going to take a step back if you're watching the video and just kind of point some things out. So the barrel is Bergara barrel. It is fluted all the way around. I wanted a quality barrel. Bergara is known for their quality, especially with how I plan on using this in the field, how much cleaning muzzleloaders require. I felt like this was the best option for me to go with if I wanted to set myself up for success. I like the barrel length and the overall length. The 26-inch barrel and the overall package size, I think, is a great setup for me to be able to go into the field, whether I'm in Tennessee or whether I'm in the brush in New Mexico, or if I end up in the wilderness in Wyoming at some point. This could be used anywhere. And that is something that I have to factor in for every rifle that I purchase. I need to make sure that I can use it in the full range of possibilities and environments. This barrel is threaded. So if I wanted to put a muzzle brake on, I could. And I probably will at some point. It is threaded for a full range of optics. There are so many different configurations that you can buy the MR-X in. And I looked for the specific one that I was looking for because I wanted to have the flexibility of hunting anywhere with iron sights. Several states don't allow you to have optics, although Tennessee is not one of them. I have the option with the Williams peep sight. I wanted to go with the peep sight because I like the globe. I like being able to see through the peep and knowing how I can use that. I also have the fiber optic front sight, which is something that I think will help me a lot when I'm getting sight picture later at night. I might upgrade at some point and go for the fancy Williams globe sight. They actually have one that has a Picatinny rail that has the same peep sight on the back, but they have they call it a globe sight up front. And it's supposed to be like a BDC type reticle at the front sight that allows you to be more consistent and accurate and not have to adjust your rear sight when making shots. This has an adjustable cheek riser right from the factory. So I can loosen this screw and adjust the cheek riser to get the appropriate cheek weld that I need. From doing my initial sight ins and dry fires, I am not confident that I will need to adjust it at all, actually. It seems like it's set up pretty well, but I like the fact that I can adjust it if I need to. I had to add a bag to my Savage rifle that I use for my long range hunting, and it works great, but it's not adjustable and it's not perfect. So this would allow me to dial in and get set up, especially on something as finicky as a muzzleloader. I want to have the flexibility and capability that I need. It came with 2 ramrods, so your sort of standard ramrod. That this is a threaded ramrod, which from talking to Andrew Coltsoon and others, the Optimas do not come with a threaded ramrod anymore. So it came with the standard one, as well as a collapsible ramrod with a carrying case for the field. So it's got MOLLE webbing. You can throw this on a pack. And although I haven't taken it out yet, it collapses into a very small package. It's easy to use. It's got like an elastic band inside of it so that it holds itself in place. And you can use that to quickly load a new round if you need to take a follow-up shot. It also came with 2 quick release breech plugs. It came with one for using pelletized powder and one for using powder granules. So you easily are able to just switch out whichever one you're using based on the load. And it is a completely toolless setup. So all you have to do is break the action open, unscrew it, and screw in the one that you want to use. Makes it for easy cleaning of the barrel, easy changing for your setups. If you hunt with pellets in your home state and you're going to a state like Colorado where you can't, you can easily swap them out and adjust as needed so that you can hunt the way you need to. It also came with some accessories that I'm going to be honest, I still don't know what they're for. I think they're for cleaning and loading, but I haven't had to mess with them yet. And I obviously have more YouTube videos I need to watch or the user manual that I need to read. But those are all of the features, the things that came with this package that I think made it worth upgrading. I think that the Acura MR-X is going to last me a very long time. I can't think of a reason that I would need a different muzzleloader other than if I wanted to go long range, like beyond 200 yards. The way this package is set up, I can put an optic on it if I want to for Texas or Tennessee, or if I go to other states like Pennsylvania or New Jersey to hunt with Peter or Andrew, or I don't know what the actual regulations are in Iowa. I'm going to have to ask Kent in the podcast when we record tomorrow. But whatever I need to do, I can easily make the adjustments. And that's something that I am very excited about because I can hunt this anywhere I want. If I want a muzzle brake, if I want to hunt pellets or powder, I know that I have a good solid barrel that when taken care of will last a long time. It'll be consistent and accurate and stand up to the elements the way that I would want this to. So I'm very excited to take it out this year. I will have to do a follow-up at the end of the season and see how it went. I'll have to follow up at the end of the season and let everyone know how it went. But I am so excited to finally have a muzzleloader, to finally be able to hunt with one. I've been talking about and thinking about it for years. So it's exciting to finally have it and be able to start using it and see what I can do with it. Thank you for listening along. I hope that you sort of have some insight into the decision-making process, why I was looking at the Acura MR-X versus the Optima or the Wolf or even the LR-X, why I made that decision. I hope that it gives you the insight that you need if you're interested in potentially purchasing the MR-X, or if you've been looking for a muzzleloader, you're not sure which one that you want. If you have any questions or if you want to give me any feedback, please reach out on Instagram. I have many social media platforms, technically speaking, but the only one that I actually use is Instagram. I'm at Endurhunt, ENDURHUNT. You can send me a message. I don't post a lot, I'll be honest. I don't post a lot, but I do use it. So if you send me a message, I look at my DMs. I would be happy to answer any questions that you have, give you any feedback, pointers, or information. So please reach out there. As I always say at the end of these podcasts, time is our most valuable asset. I really appreciate and do not take for granted that you chose to spend it with me. I hope that this was valuable for you, that you were able to take some information about the Acura, the different models that CVA has to offer, and sort of why I approached this the way that I did. Thank you so much for listening. I'm happy to be in a regular podcast cadence again. I'm so excited for the hunting season coming up. I wish you all luck with filled tags. Thank you again, and I'll see y'all next time.